Have you ever had a dreams that that you had you could you do you want you could do so you do you want him to do you so much you could do anything? Have you ever had a dreams that you had you could you want you could do so you want him to do you so much you could do anything? Have you ever had a dreams that you had you could you want you could do so you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
Are there any questions, please? Yes, sir. Well, I'll tell you in details exactly how we got together. It was 1933. If you remember, there was a frightful depression on in our country. Millions were unemployed. In New York City, you would go through the tunnel into Gimbels from, say, the square where Gimbels begins. It goes all the way through to the Holland Tunnel. They were sleeping with the permission of the mayor, 3 and 4 deep, as far as the eye could go. There's no place to go. In the park, in the summer months, they were allowed to sleep in the park, sleep all over the place. And the long lines for coffee and bread were there to give them. There were millions unemployed. We then had a population of not more than, say, 130 million, as against today's 192 million. I was a dancer, and if you couldn't eat, you couldn't pay to watch a dancer. So there were no shows playing on Broadway. I think we had 5 Broadway shows, and they were running on paper. Yes, people passing on paper, they want to see them really, instead of the usual 50 and 60 shows that you used to get. Well, what I'm getting at, I didn't have a job, I had no money, and I was living in a basement on 75th Street, and he lived on 72nd Street, in a very lovely home that was owned by Morgenthau, whose son was then the treasury of our country, a cabinet member. But his father owned this house, but he didn't live there, and he rented the first floor to my friend Abdullah. I said to Abdullah, in the month of October, late October, Abdullah had been gone from Barbados for almost 12 years, came here in 22. And it's almost 12 years, and I've never had a desire to go back. But now I have a hungry desire, a haunting desire to go to Barbados. Not a thing stops me but the lack of money. I have no money. He said to me, "You are in Barbados." I said, "I'm in Barbados?" He said, "Yes, you are now in Barbados." And so you see Barbados, and you see America from Barbados, and you can smell the tropical land of Barbados, see only the little homes of Barbados, and that's all you do. You just simply sleep this night in Barbados. Well, I thought him insane, really. At the moment, it seemed so stupid, because 72nd Street, we still had 50 and 60-story buildings. And little Barbados with a little 3-story building, almost the tallest that you find, and narrow little streets and no sidewalks. And I'm walking on a sidewalk wider than the wide street of Barbados on 72nd Street. But nevertheless, that night I slept in Barbados. I assumed that I'm in Barbados, in my mother's home, and that I saw America relative to Barbados, and it wasn't under me that night. It was north of me, about 2,000 miles. Well, the next day, I didn't tell him anything. About a week later, when nothing happened, I thought I would approach him. This time we've moved into November. I said, "You know, Ab, there's not a thing has happened." He wouldn't discuss it with me. He turned his back on me and went into his little library and slammed the door. About 3 times I tried to open up the discussion with my friend Ab between that moment when I first talked to him and the end. He would never discuss it. On the basis, how can he discuss with me how I am going to Barbados when I am already in Barbados? That's stupid to discuss how I'm going to go when I'm in Barbados. And if I'm faithful to my assumption, I can't discuss the how. I'm already there. Well, this went on the morning of the 4th day of December. There's no job, no place to go, and the last boat that will get me there, my Christmas, is going to sail on the 6th. Under my door is a little letter from my brother Victor. And he said, as a family, we were never around the table at Christmas together. That Cecil, that is my oldest brother, he left home before the last was born. Because we have a large family. There's 8 years between my sister, Daphne, who was the 8th child, and then my brother, Joe. Well, in that interval, my brother Cecil went off to Demerara. So never as a family were we ever together at Christmas. So in the letter, he justifies why he's asked me to come. He said, I know you don't have a job, and there's no excuse for not coming. And so I'm enclosed.
This is Neville Goddard talking about how he met his teacher, Abdullah, in New York. And the story of him wanting to go to Barbados. I think his family, he has some family out there or something like that. But he was like broke. You know what? How far are we into this? 4 minutes? I'll pull it back enough time. Because, you know, this is what this show is for.
Barbados, and you can smell the tropical land of Barbados.
Let me take it back just a little bit more.
Nothing stops me but the lack of money. I have no money. He said to me, you are in Barbados. I said, I'm in Barbados. He said, yes, you are now in Barbados. And so you see Barbados, and you see America from Barbados, and you can smell the tropical land of Barbados, see only the little homes of Barbados, and that's all you do. You just simply sleep this night in Barbados. Well, I thought him insane, really. I mean, at the moment, it seemed so stupid, because 72nd Street, we still had 50 and 60-story buildings. And little Barbados with a little 3-story building, almost the tallest that you'll find, and narrow little streets and no sidewalks. And I'm walking on a sidewalk wider than the wide street of Barbados on 72nd Street. But nevertheless, that night I slept in Barbados. I assumed that I'm in Barbados in my mother's home, and that I saw America relative to Barbados, and it wasn't under me that night, it was north of me about 2,000 miles. Well, the next day, I didn't tell him anything. About a week later, when nothing happened, I thought I would approach him. This time we moved into November. I said, you know, Ab, there's not a thing has happened. He wouldn't discuss it with me. He turned his back on me and went into his little library and slammed the door. About 3 times I tried to open up the discussion with my friend Ab between that moment when I first talked to him and the end. He would never discuss it. On the basis, how can he discuss with me how I am going to Barbados when I am already in Barbados? That's stupid to discuss how I'm going to go when I am in Barbados. And if I'm faithful to my assumption, I can't discuss the how. I'm already there. Well, this went on the morning of the 4th day of December. There's no job, no place to go, and the last boat that will get me there, my Christmas, is going to sail on the 6th. Under my door is a little letter from my brother Victor. And he said, as a family, we were never around the table at Christmas together. That Cecil, that is my oldest brother, he left home before the last was born. Because we have a large family. There's 8 years between my sister, Daphne, who was the 8th child, and then my brother, Joe. Well, in that interval, my brother Cecil went off to Demerara. So never as a family were we ever together at Christmas. So in the letter, he justifies why he's asked me to come. He said, I know you don't have a job, and there's no excuse for not coming. And so I'm enclosing a draft for $50. You may need a shirt, a pair of shoes, socks, or something. And I've notified the Furnace Willie line that you will come for a ticket. So the ticket is waiting for you at the Furnace line. Well, I was so excited, I rushed on down to the Furnace line, and I gave them my letter. They said, yes, we have a message here from your family in Barbados.
I actually edited the title because once I was ready to start this, it's just so insignificant what I was going to comment on. You know, I just wanted something a little sensational. You know, people want to hear some BS on the show, and then we get into some whatever laughable things. You feel me? But I'm not in the mood right now. I've been on such a fucking tear, with acquiring skill and knowledge and innovating and tapping in, that I just want to stay on that shit right now because I've done a great work. But if you want to know about that, then you got to tap into my trading channel.
We'll give you a ticket, but we haven't any first class tickets left. You can go third class and use the facilities of the first, but you have to sleep third class until you hit the island of St. Thomas. When you hit St. Thomas, somewhat distant box, then you may take a first class bunk. I said, I'll take it. I rushed right up to Abdullah. And I said, Ab, I have my ticket for Barbados, but I have to go third class. I am all elated and happy about it. He said, who told you that you're going to Barbados? And who told you that you went to Barbados third class? You went to Barbados and you went first class. Would say no more. He isn't even happy that I'm going to Barbados now. So I went down on the morning of the 6th day of December with my third class ticket. Went up to the desk as they're checking in the passengers, and I put my ticket forward. Said, I've got good news for you, Mr. Goddard. Someone is canceled, and you're going first class. And I went first class all the way down to Barbados. 10 days down, 10 days back, with 3 heavenly months in Barbados. So all that I did, I tried to the best of my ability with his, I would call almost insolence. He was rude. But he taught me by his rudeness that I cannot discuss how if I am doing what I'm supposed to do. He tells me right away, you are in Barbados. Like someone comes to you now, and you would apply this principle towards their request, and they say, oh, I would love to be happily married. And you say to her or him, you are now happily married. They look at you as though you're insane. But that's exactly what you're supposed to do. You are now happily married. But if I am now happily married of a lady, I would instantly begin to feel that ring there in my imagination. I'd let others see that I have my ring, but that would imply I'm happily married to somebody. And so if I don't wear it from then on, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. So in my imagination, I have to go to bed wearing my ring. And actually do all that I would do in that state. When he said you were in Barbados, and I'm in New York City physically, when he put me in Barbados in my imagination. So that I slept in Barbados to the best of my ability. But you know, days go into weeks, the weeks went into a month. And I'm trying my best to open up a discussion with him to get a little hope. No hope. He wouldn't give me any encouragement if I did what he told me to do. Well, we all are human enough to want another little discussion, another little push.
When you observe the world, you see people, you see houses, you see the sky, you see tangible objects. But when you observe yourself within, you see moving images, a world of images, generally known as fantasies. Yet these fantasies are facts. It is a fact that a man has such and such a fantasy. And it is such a tangible fact, for instance, that when a man has a certain fantasy, another man may lose his life. Or a bridge is built. These houses were all fantasies. Everything you do here, all of the houses, everything was fantasy to begin with. And fantasy has a proper reality. That is not to be forgotten. Fantasy is not nothing. It is, of course, not a tangible object, but it is a fact nevertheless. It is, say, a form of energy, despite the fact we can't measure it. It is a manifestation of something. And that is a reality. That is just a reality as, for instance, the peace treaty of Versailles or something like that. It is no more. You can't show it. But it has been a fact. And so the psychical events are facts, are realities. And when you observe the stream of images within, you observe an aspect of the world within. And so, you see, the man who is going by the external world by the influences of the external world, say society or perceptions, sense perceptions, thinks that he is more valid, because this is valid, this is real. And the man who goes by the subjective factor is not valid because subjective factor is nothing. Yeah. No, that man is just as well based because he is bases himself upon the world from within. And so he is quite right, even if he says, oh, there's nothing but my fantasy,
Channel. I apologise for there's not been many videos lately because guess where I've been? But I thought I'd share with you a very quick story. This is actually absolutely true. Take it as you will. I'm just going to tell you what happened. But one of the nice things about travelling the way I do is you get to sort of practice. Sometimes you get to practice the magic and the spirituality of the region that you're actually visiting. And I'm quite fascinated by the philosopher, spiritual teacher Neville Goddard, who talks about, for want of a better word, no, I'm not going to say the law of attraction because it's not that. It's not the law of attraction. People think it is on the surface because they don't actually read him, but it's not. It's deeper than that. But manifestation is a part of it. Reality creation is a part of it, or more specifically in his case, reality selection. I've done a couple of videos on him before if you want to check out more about his stuff. Anyway, the point is this. One of the best stories about Neville was when he was interacting with his own teacher, Abdullah, when he was learning all about this stuff, about how the universe works. And Abdullah was a mystic from Ethiopia. And Neville was stuck in New York City, I think it was Christmas. And he wanted to get to Barbados to be with his family for Christmas. He's from Barbados. But you wouldn't know that from listening to him. But I remember the first time I heard a Neville Goddard lecture, a recording of it. And I thought because he was from Barbados, he might have a slight patois in his accent. But no, he sounds like a Victorian English woman in fascinating way. I tell you now, your own wonderful imagination is gone. And it's worth a listen. And that's the other thing I like about him, by the way. You can listen to him because all of his lectures, all of his talks are out there for free. That's why I like him. He never made any money from his spiritual teaching. That was an offering. And the books and the talks were very, very. He let people record his talks. He didn't care. He made his money in the world by actually doing his thing. Anyway, I had a gap in the diary. I had something go wrong. I had a dream was coming true and then it wasn't, if you know what I mean. I'm in show business. This happens all the time. It's not personal. It feels personal when it happens, but it's not personal. It's for show business. And if you're in show business, the best way to maintain your mental clarity is to accept that all there is what's happening now and nothing's real until it is, if you know what I mean. There's an awful lot of scripts that get very close to development and don't happen, an awful lot of TV shows that get close to happening and don't. And in my own case, this was a project that I was very excited about that came to naught. I ended up getting ghosted because, and again, that show business, ghosting, no one ever tells you, just get ghosted. It happens. But it left me with a 3-month block in my diary that I blocked out for this particular project. And now I had free time, but everyone's booked up for the year ahead, so I'm not going to get anything last minute. I thought I'd take a little sabbatical to recharge my burned out brain. I was very tired. But then I started to think, oh, it'd be nice to earn. It would be nice to make some money. And I remembered I just started to do the thing I do, a bit of Neville. I just started to assume the state of the wish fulfilled, which was his primary method. Not necessarily visualizing or charting, just assume success, assume something will come up, assume something good will happen. I remember there's the Barbados story. So Neville was stuck in New York. He wanted to get to Barbados for Christmas. He was imagining it, visualizing it, praying for it. Nothing was happening. He went to see Abdullah, his teacher, and explained to him, you know, I'm visualizing, I'm praying, I'm affirming. It's not happening, Abdullah. And Abdullah replied to him, Neville, you are in Barbados and you went first class. And then shuts the door on him, and Neville got it right. It's not about all that. There's no point affirming, charting, visualizing if you don't feel it here, you don't feel it's real, and you don't feel it now. because now is all that exists. There is no such thing as time. That is a function of the human nervous system to just kind of measure what's going on, but time doesn't actually exist, according to Neville and according to me, by the way. I'll do some more videos on that. Things are getting very interesting, actually. But so he just assumed he was in Barbados. As he was walking, he assumed the feeling of being in Barbados. He was in the cold streets of New York, but he assumed the feeling of being in Barbados. And sure enough, he got there, and he got there first class. The synchronicities lined up. Reality rose to meet him, and he ended up in Barbados for Christmas, and he went first class. A lovely story. I've got no reason to doubt it. So I was doing my little, well, you know what? I'm happy, I'm busy, I'm working, I'm performing. And then I said to myself, in my little trance state, I said to myself, just to sign off, Buckles, you are in Barbados. Just to get that little click. And 2 days later, the agent phones up, or last minute contracts come up. Exactly what I was imagining, beautiful. It's a 6-star resort. It's wonderful. You're doing 2 shows. But here's the kicker. You'll never guess where it was. I'm sorry. Buckles is in Barbados. Coincidence? I don't know. It's just a nice story. Could be coincidence. Could be that I manifested it. Could be I aligned with a reality where it was the case. Could just be coincidence. I give not a shit. It's just a nice story. And here I am in Barbados.
I know most people can't stand this long form content. You're used to short clips, a lot of cuts, things to keep you engaged. But I'm DJing this like this for a reason. I gave you Neville Goddard's story. Now I bring you this guy who fancies himself a bit of a manifestor, chaos magician, whatever you want to call it, and he gives you an experience directly from his life. And a job popping up for somebody who would like a job, that's not too crazy to believe. But even though it's during an unlikely time of year for him, what is interesting is that what manifested was he still got what he was going for, but the only thing specific out of all that was the cherry he put on top of "You Are in Barbados," referencing Neville Goddard. And that was an anchor for him. You feel me? But it was the only specific he had in his vision for getting some work or be able to go on a sabbatical or whatever. And where does he end up? Boom, Barbados. It's interesting. It's interesting.
The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is the eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. Yet mystery and manifestations arise from the same source. This source is called darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding. When people see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. When people see some things as good, other things become bad. Being and non-being create each other. Difficult and easy support each other. Long and short define each other. High and low depend on each other. Before and after follow each other. Therefore the master acts without doing anything and teaches without saying anything. Things arise and she lets them come. Things disappear and she lets them go. She has but doesn't possess, acts but doesn't expect. When her work is done, she forgets it. That is why it lasts forever. If you overesteem great men, people become powerless. If you overvalue possessions, people begin to steal. The master leads by emptying people's minds and filling their cores, by weakening their ambition and toughening their resolve. He helps people lose everything they know, everything they desire, and creates confusion in those who think that they know. Practice not doing, and everything will fall into place. The Tao is like a well, used but never used up. It is like the eternal void, filled with infinite possibilities. It is hidden but always present. I don't know who gave birth to it. It is older than God. The Tao doesn't take sides. It gives birth to both good and evil. The Master doesn't take sides. She welcomes both saints and sinners. The Tao is like a bellows. It is empty yet infinitely capable. The more you use it, the more it produces. The more you talk of it, the less you understand. Hold on to the center. The Tao is called the Great Mother, empty yet inexhaustible. It gives birth to infinite worlds. It is always present within you. You can use it any way you want. The Tao is infinite, eternal. Why is it eternal? It was never born, thus it...
This book, Reality Transurfing, helped me change my life forever and scale my business to over $10,000 a month. And in this video, I'll break down the 3 biggest lessons that I learned from reading this exact book so that you can apply it into your own business to make more money, sign more clients, and ultimately live a life full of financial freedom and location freedom. So the first major lesson that I learned from this book is pendulums. And you see, Vadim Zeland explains that pendulums are basically energetic structures that suck your energy away and creates a us versus them environment from them. The easiest way for me to explain this to you is by giving you real life examples. Things such as sports teams, political parties, celebrities, anything where it's kind of like a group or a collective of people that all believe in one specific thing, that all have a specific set of beliefs that say, hey, you should do things this way, you should do things this way, this is how society is, or this is how the group is. Anything of that is what's called a pendulum. And you see, not all pendulums are bad, but when you identify with pendulums, you end up giving away your freedom and your power away to them. If you don't act away from the pendulum, you're essentially outcasted from the group. And this applies to you whenever you're just going about your day. You see, there's a lot of distractions. Like I said, things such as political parties, sports teams, media, all these things are examples of pendulums that can take away your energy and eventually basically sap away your focus from ever growing your business. So be wary of pendulums. I think this one is very common, and it's now being known that, okay, hey, maybe I shouldn't watch this sports team, or maybe I shouldn't watch this type of news or pay attention to this political party. But you'd be very surprised because it can be anything, any type of group that sap away your energy. And so be wary of them so that you can pretty much be unattached to it and still grow your business. So the way I look at it is like this. I, for one, watch sports from time to time. And the way I do it is by not being attached to the sports teams. You'll see that some people, when their favorite sports teams loses, they end up being like sad or mad or angry, or whatever it may be. You obviously don't want that. You can still watch or do or participate or engage in any of the stuff or any of the pendulums, but just don't be attached to it. Don't put your emotional value into it. Don't put all your energy and thought into it. It's kind of like you going inside of a play and watching the play, and after a play is over, you stand up and you leave. That's it. That's literally it. You don't have to be attached to it, and you don't have to observe and let it just fully dive into it. Just observe.
He has reality transurfing on the table in front of him. I'm like, I'm looking at it. I'm like, man, that shit's thicker than the Bible, dog. It's not that complicated. But I'll hear you out.
But don't attach yourself to it and just go about your day. That's all you have to do. The second big major lesson that I learned in this book is what's called importance, right? So when you have a certain goal, let's say it's like $10,000 a month, let's say it's your first 5,000, 3,000, whatever it may be, you end up putting a lot of importance on that goal. And you think that, okay, I'm just going to think about this goal. I'm just going to like go ahead and put it in my mind 24/7. And in theory, logically, this makes sense, right? You want to obsess over the goal and actually end up achieving the goal. But what Vadim says in this book is what ends up happening after you do something like that is the importance of that goal goes up a lot, right? And you see, the universe is always balanced. It's always going to have a balancing act. So if you desire a certain goal and the importance of that goal goes up, and up, what ends up happening is the universe has to end up balancing it out somehow, because everything in this world is of balance, and you pretty much end up not achieving your goal because you have so much importance on it because of the law of balance, right? So if you have any type of goal, and if you want to achieve any type of goal, you should instead focus on the inputs and not the outputs, because the importance that you place upon a certain type of goal will end up increasing the balance, so much so that the universe ends up balancing it out. So you obviously don't want that. It kind of reminds me of the Bhagavad Gita. If you've read the Bhagavad Gita, you'll know that Krishna tells Arjuna, hey, you have the right to work, but for the work's sake only. You have no right to the fruits of your labor. So what he means is focus on the inputs and not the outputs. Don't focus on how much money you're going to get. Don't focus on the fame or the status or the clout you're going to get. Focus on the actual inputs that you go by day to day, so that you can actually go ahead and achieve that certain goal. So whatever your goal is, because a lot of people place this goal, even me, I used to place 10K a month at this type of pedestal, right? But I only achieved 10K a month after I stopped putting it on any type of pedestal, because after I stopped placing it on this like imaginary pedestal of like, oh, it's here and I'm here. After I stopped that and I pretty much got it to about even, or I got it to about equal, I guess you could say, that's when I actually achieved it. Not when I placed it above here, only when it was equal. So that's the second thing. When it comes to importance, don't place an absurd amount of importance, just do. The final thing that I want to talk about is intention. And how Vadim Zeland explains it in this book is intention is very important in the sense that instead of trying to control everything, let it just flow to you, right? Of course, you're going to intend of achieving your goal, and especially as men, you're going to want to have a plan and execution on, okay, I'm going to send this many emails, I'm going to send out this many, I'm going to make this many cold calls, and then after this many sales calls, I'm going to get this many clients, and then all that stuff. And yes, that is, again, to some extent true. But what the thing is, do not try to control everything. Set a clear goal and trust that the universe and the world will provide you with a path along that goal. The easiest way I can explain this to you is how Vadim says, going to the mailbox. So what he means is, when you go get the mail, right, you're just going to go get the mail. You're not going to think about how you're going to put on your shoes, put on socks, put on a shirt, and go out and do all that, right? No, it's just natural. You just wake up, you go to the mailbox, and you get the mail. That's the exact same thing that you want to have with your goal. Set the intention of having a goal and just trust that the universe and the world, or the God or whatever you believe in, has a plan for you, and you'll just achieve it. That's it. Set the intention. Don't have the importance. Avoid pendulums. And I promise you, you will scale your business very, very far, much farther than you've ever done, just by following these 3 simple steps. And again, I'm not even fully done with this book. I'm like 400 pages out of 700. And it's still, I've seen in a matter of months, my life has completely changed. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is how reality transurfing has changed my life. And I highly, highly urge you, if you've read any type of book like Think and Grow.
Welcome to Hidden America, Babylon on Fire. Today's episode is called Chaos Magic, a crash course in chaos. Now, to begin, we'll begin with 3 quick quotes. Now, people are so alienated from their own souls that when they finally meet their soul, they think it's from a whole nother star system. Reality is, the tip of an iceberg of irrationality that we've managed to drag ourselves up onto for a few painting moments before we slip back into the sea of the unreal. Those were said by the prolific author, psychnaut, and botanist Terence McKenna. Now to the feature presentation. Magic is the art and practice of causing change and conformity with one's will. That was said by Aleister Crowley, the most wicked man in the world, the great beast 666, the Megatherion, a member of the Golden Dawn until he broke rituals. He was a grand synthesizer of many magical systems, the founder of the Ordo Templi Ortis, or the OTO, and also of Thelma. Thelma means will in Greek. True magicians, in its purest sense, is self-actualization of the magician's destiny or soul purpose, your will, your higher self. Now let's slow down, as this is a much more of an introduction, a beginner's course, a crash course on chaos. So magic. So first, we must define magic in this upside down, inverted realm we call Earth, an anagram for heart. Now, as we will begin to learn, there is no accidents or coincidences in this realm. The kingdom of duality, as I like to call it, the realm of polarity, sun and moon, male and female, yin and yang, day and night, dark and light. Everything has a pole. Everything has an opposite. The physical world powers the spiritual world. Polarity powers this world. Karma means action. Everything you do causes karma. For every cause, there is an effect. Now, magic is all around you. Nature is magic. Your mind is magic. Words are magic. Your voice is magic. It's not called spelling for no reason. Letters and numbers are sigils. It is taught in the Kabbalah, the oral Torah, that the Creator spoke the physical world into existence through letters and words. Now, in this kingdom of duality, it's no coincidence that you learn both the regular way of writing and cursive. Just so happens to be called cursive. Now, every time you speak, you are casting spells. Therefore, one must be impeccable with his word in order to manifest desirable results. Now, I wish it was that easy, but knowledge is power. Consciousness is the key. Now, in this internet age, where every piece of information is filtered, true knowledge, wisdom, gnosis comes from within. Ignorance is a choice. Consciousness is the key. Forget Harry Potter. Get past your fear and anxiety or any other misconceptions.
Transurfing changed my life. The book written by Vadim Zeland, that book literally changed my mindset, changed how I perceive the life, and really impacts your mindset positively. The mindset is like your belief systems, day-to-day basis, how you perceive every single situation about the life, about the information you receive, the things happening in you or on your day-to-day basis. It really changed my mindset for the better. What do I mean by that? It forces you to think positively. It explains you the fundamentals of how you literally have to look in life. Yes, of course, you can't be like blind, read that book blindly, believing every single thing what is written there, but there is a lot of good information how you can live your life when full of joy, happiness, fulfillment, how to achieve that. When you have the right mindset, it's not just like a skill you learn, go in that direction, learn this thing, perform only in that craft. It builds your mindset, correct system beliefs, view the life correctly, be in a happy state every single day. By happiness, I mean being grateful for what you have, being that in the present moment, enjoying even those hardships, not only euphoria, those amazing moments, so victories, also losses, struggles. You learn all of those things to value. That book really teaches me how to not react to those negative things that drastically and dramatically. Do not use my energy for these negative events that are happening in my life. You just label them as a negative thing. And it's not just positive thinking. They're like self-help book. It's a really, really deep and pretty hard read. So you have to read for a few times. I'm reading this book for a second time, and I have in Spotify in audio format, many chapters, 19 episodes, like 26 hours of content. It's not like typical self-help book because there are a lot of them, and you can be really caught up in that mental masturbation. When you read those books, you feel very productive. Not making true needle moving steps to your goal is a hard book. If you go deep and analyze every single chapter, maybe you can pick just few ones about how to perceive the life more positively and how to have more energy, how to do not react in those negative things. A lot about choosing your goals, how to have that purposeful life, joyful life. There is like a saying in that book, if you go through the right doors as the path of life you choose, if you choose the right path, you will experience that fulfillment, joy. And for example, me as a trader, it is a really great explanation about money. Like, trading is literally a
Too fire that it comes full circle, and the title of the show makes even more sense. The Imagination Factory. Only you matter. I matter. Reality theories, and it comes full circle right now. How this shit's crazy. Because I locked in my technical system. There's no more technical refinements need to be done. The great work is done. I just need to organize it now to be able to teach it in a concise manner. You feel me? So I just been diving more into the psychology, and I was reading like the Tao Te Ching earlier, and it's like, yo, everything was just popping out and fitting perfectly with like the path I'm on. I'm like, yo, this is things are. I feel reality pause lubricating. You feel me? Everything's getting smoother and going up. Pause.
money-based craft. You don't give any value to the world. It is only about money. In that book, there is a very good explanation about money, that your goal can't be based on money because you will live a pretty miserable life if you.
Goal itself means that it is a foreign goal. If you experience inner tension from the awareness that the goal is difficult to achieve, this means that it lies beyond the limits of your current comfort zone, or that you have chosen a foreign door. Do not think about the means of achieving your goal until you have firmly decided on what the goal should be. If you cannot see yourself clearly in your imagined role, it might be that you are not ready for it yet. The limits of your personal comfort zone can be widened with the help of slides, and there is no need to worry about doors. All that is required of you is the will to have, and then sooner or later, outer intention will lead you to the right door. Do not be tempted to make money your goal as if all your problems would disappear. If only you had more money, because after all, you know what to spend it on, blah, blah, blah.
You have a goal based on money. I think that's pretty common sense, but it really explains well that money can be used as a tool.
It's to disappear because what to spend it on. Remember the suitcase full of notes in the chapter on slides? There we said that money itself cannot serve as a goal. It can only serve as a accompanying attribute to another goal. Interesting. You may readily agree, but the statement is less trivial than it appears. We are so accustomed to money that we can translate almost anything into a monetary equivalent. Money is an abstract category designed to help the mind, but in no way, I did say that correctly, designed to help the mind, but in no way intended for the heart. The heart has no idea what to do with money because it is not capable of abstract thinking. The thing is that I don't know why it's like difficult for me to read this highlighted shit. Hold on. The thing is that your end goal has to be comprehensible to the heart. The heart has to know what you want to buy with the amount you have requested. be it a house, casino, or private island, etc. It's not a matter of the means, but the heart must like it.
To achieve certain things, and your heart doesn't know what to do with money. But if heart knows truly, deep down in your heart, you know what money will be used for, then the heart will feel that fulfillment, joy, and happiness throughout that path. And I do really agree with that statement, because I know I will be able to get that freedom. The main point of trading, to get that freedom, right? Getting that money, I could travel, I could support my girlfriend, both of us, live separately from my family, retire my parents, build those resources for the future businesses, hobbies I want to try. So I have exact reason why I do need money. So it is really, really easy for my heart to understand and fulfill myself, trying to achieve that financial freedom with trading. And that gives me fulfillment. Also, very good insight from that book. If you're not choosing the right path, those hardships will feel way harsher, and it will be way hard to overcome them, overcome those obstacles, fix those problems, any issues throughout that path to your goal. Choosing the right path is really important. And I think in life you have a lot of chapters and stages when you grow, when you build, maybe you relax a little bit, get some rest to use that energy in the future. That book is insanely good. I only learned about few chapters because I don't understand that whole book yet. I learned a lot of main details and fundamentals of that book. As I said, reacting more positively to those negative things, you just label them at first point as a negative thing, as I said already, and mindset shifts are really important. After that book, I have never really felt any really strong and extreme negative thoughts. Yes, I also have emotions. I also feel things. I'm not a robot, but life becomes easier. I perceive my life way better after that book, way more positively. And as I said, not thinking only in a positive way, but also perceiving that situation in a less emotional way, being more objective, understanding that life gives you those things with a reason. These things will happen in your life. You will always have those problems, like many celebrities killing themselves, using drugs and going off the road, terrible paths after their success. Everyone has those problems. You are the one who will manage them, and you are the only person who control your perception of events, negative thoughts. Check out that book because it is really insightful. Read it slowly, analyze the main points. What does it try to
Here's the big challenge of life. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. That's the challenge. And of course, the other side of the coin reads, unless you change how you are, you'll always have what you got. I have found in my experience that income does not far exceed personal development. Now, sometimes income takes a lucky jump. But sure enough, unless you grow out where it is, it'll usually come back where you are. Life has strange ways. If somebody hands you $1 million, best you become a millionaire quickly, so you get to keep the money. Otherwise, sure enough, it'll disappear. Somebody once said, if you took all the money in the world, divided it up equally among everybody, it would soon all be back in the same pockets. Incredible. Success is something you attract, not something you pursue. Success is looking for a good place to stay. So instead of going after it, you work on yourself. Personal development. See, the major question to ask on the job is not what are you getting? The major question to ask on the job is what are you becoming? See, the big question is not what am I getting paid here? The big question is what am I becoming here? Because true happiness is not contained in what you get. Happiness is contained in what you become. So that's our major subject for tonight, personal development. Of all the assignments Mr. Shoaff gave me at age 25, this was probably the most difficult. In fact, I'm still working on this one. I think it's an unending challenge to see what you can become. The next subject is called Basic Laws. And it's good to study the basics. And I call these basics primarily because they come from the Bible. Now, I'm not a theologian or a minister, and that'll be apparent. But Mr. Shoaff taught me that the Bible was a good textbook for ideas and stories and success equations, how to live the better life. I found out that was true. He also taught me that the Bible is as practical as it is spiritual, and I found out that's true. If you look at your bank account and your income and you're not happy, there are several places in the Bible to check to see what the heck's wrong so you can make the changes. And we're going to cover some of those tonight, called basics. Okay, the next subject is my favorite, setting goals. Mr. Shoaff taught me how to set goals. What a favor that was. One morning at breakfast, shortly after I met him, he said, Jim, let me see your current list of goals and let's go over them and talk about them. He said, maybe that's the best way I can help you get a better direction started. And I said, I don't have a list. He said, well, is it out in the car or home somewhere? I said, no, sir. I don't have a list anywhere. He said, well, young man, that's where we got to start. He said, I can tell you right now, if you don't have a list of your goals with you, he said, I can guess your bank balance within a few $100s, which he did. And that got my attention. I said, you mean my bank balance would change if I had a list of goals? He said, drastically. That day, I became a willing student how to set goals. And sure enough, learning how to set goals changed my life. And I often wondered why no one had ever taught me how to set goals up until age 25. I went to high school, but if they offered it, I missed it. I went to college for a year, never heard it. I worked for Sears. Really? And to my knowledge, Sears never taught it, right? How to set goals. So here I am, age 25, married, my family's starting, I've been to college, I'm working, and I still don't know how to set goals. But fortunately, when I was 25, I met the man who taught me how, and it revolutionized my whole life. Economically, socially, personally, it's incredible. So I want to share with you tonight what Mr. Shoaff shared with me, how to set goals. It can be a life changer. Okay, the next subject is the negative part of the seminar. Life is part negative, so we got to talk about the negative. And this subject is called diseases of attitude. Diseases of attitude. There's a lot of things that can wreck your chances to do well. We live in a rather dangerous world, so you got to be not only wise, you got to be careful. Now, attitude diseases are just as bad as physical diseases, right? High blood pressure, heart trouble. I mean, a lot of things lace your chances to do well. So you've got to be careful. And attitude diseases are deadly. I mean, they'll destroy all the good things you start. Okay? So we'll go through those attitude diseases, how to spot them, how to look for them, what they are, and the cure. And I'm a pro on these because I've had them all, so I can give you excellent advice on these. Now, the last subject we're going to consider tonight is called the day that turns your life around. The day that turns your life around. And under this subject, we're going to talk about the emotions that can change your life. Human beings are emotional creatures, and emotions are powerful for life change. Now, of course, emotions are so powerful they can go either way on you. Emotions can either build or destroy. So you really have to employ emotions properly. We call civilization the intelligent management of human emotions. If you can intelligently apply your emotions in the right direction, no telling what can happen. Could turn your life around one day would be sufficient. So we'll talk about those. Okay. Now that's a lot to cover in one evening, but we'll keep at it here and see if we can't get it all done. I'd like to have you now jot down the theme of the seminar. Every seminar should have a theme, I guess. We've got one. It's on some of our literature if you happen to notice it. But if you didn't, for your notes, here it is. The theme of the seminar goes like this. The major key to your better future is you. That's the theme of our seminar tonight. The major key to your
Well, this brings us to the 7th visit, and I hope to hand you the master key to success before I finish, because my subject will lead you so near to the master key that you will be apt to recognize it. As I have suggested in previous visits, a positive mental attitude can clear away all obstacles which stand between you and your major purpose in life. Because of the importance of the subject of our visit, I shall not only tell you that a positive mental attitude heads the entire list of the 12 great riches in life, but I am going to give you explicit instructions as to what you must do to keep your mind positive. Are you ready? If you are ready, this visit may bring the most important change in your life you have ever experienced. 1, learn to adjust yourself to other people's state of mind and difficulties so as to get along peacefully with them and to refrain from taking notice of trivial circumstances in your relations with other people by refusing to allow them to become controversial incidents. Great people always avoid small incidents of controversy when possible. 2, establish for yourself a definite fixed system of conditioning your mind at the beginning of each day so you will keep it positive under all circumstances. 3, do not permit yourself to be drawn into argument over unimportant subjects. 4, adopt the habit of having a good hearty laugh every time you become irritated or angry, and it will help you if you begin each day with 1 minute of hearty laughing. This will change the chemistry of your brain and start you out with a positive mental attitude. However, you had better get out of sight when you take your laughing exercise. 5, start each day with an expression of gratitude for all the adversities, defeats, failures you have experienced in the past, and search for the seed of an equivalent benefit these have yielded you through the passing of time. Then give thanks for the blessings you expect to receive during the day. 6, learn to concentrate your attention on the can-do portion of all of your problems and desires and start action where you stand in carrying out this portion. No matter what may be your problem or your desire, there is always something you can do right now that will help you. Find out what this something is and do it. 7, learn to transmute all unpleasant circumstances into immediate action which calls for a positive mental attitude, and make this a fixed habit. For example, when you are angry, switch your mind to some sort of action in connection with your hobby or your major purpose in life, and keep it busy with that subject for 5 minutes. 8, recognize that every circumstance which influences your life, whether it is a pleasant or unpleasant circumstance, is grist for your mill of life, and so use it to make it pay you dividends in one form or another, remembering meanwhile that your strength grows out of your struggles. Follow this instruction and you will soon learn that there is no such thing as an unprofitable experience. 9, look upon your life as a continuous process of education, of learning from all your experiences, good and bad, and to be always on the alert for gains of wisdom which come to you a little at a time in both your pleasant and unpleasant experiences. 10, make the world over to fit your own pattern if you choose, but begin with yourself in some sort of self-improvement which will make you more open-minded, patient, and generous in your relations with others. 11, express gratitude twice daily for your recognition of the fact that you have been given complete control over your own mind, and ask for guidance in order that you may use this profound gift wisely in all your thoughts and acts. 12, go out of your way daily to comment enthusiastically on the good qualities of those with whom you live and work, but do not mention their negative qualities. Then observe with benefit to yourself how quickly others will begin to concentrate on your good qualities. Remember, I'm still talking about how to keep your mind positive. And 13, accept all criticism of yourself as an occasion for self-examination to determine how much of it is justified, and you will be sure to make startling discoveries about yourself which will help you to the remainder of your life. 14, do not accept from life or anyone else anything you do not desire. And remember that Mahatma Gandhi proved himself to be more powerful than the great British military forces by this simple method of passive resistance. 15, remember always that there are two kinds of circumstances which cause you to worry. Those you can do something about and those you can do nothing about. Nothing, that is, except to use passive resistance and refuse to permit them to worry you. 16, keep your mind eternally engaged in thinking of that which you desire most, your major purpose in life, so no time will be left for you to waste on thinking of that which you do not want. And let me digress here while I tell you we are now rubbing elbows with the great master key of success this very moment. And 17, if you should ever be so unfortunate as to feel sorry for yourself, look around until you find someone who is worse off than yourself and start where you stand to give him help. Make this procedure a habit, and you will witness one of the great miracles of life, because that which you do to or for another, you do to or for yourself. And 18, choose some person whom you consider to be the sort of person you would like to be. Then go to work and emulate that person in every way possible. Great people have always been hero worshippers, but they pick the right sort of people to emulate. 19, cultivate your tone of voice so that your words have a pleasing musical sound. And remember that the sound of your voice is an open window through which other people look into your very soul. It will be a profitable investment if you will get a tape recording machine and record samples of your voice daily while you practice the art of expressing yourself through a friendly sounding voice. If you are engaged in selling, this practice will quickly pay off in monetary dividends. 20, last but by no means the least, write out this sentence and paste it in a prominent place where you work and on a mirror where you see yourself in your home. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. The 20 instructions I have just given you have come from my own personal
to your better future is you. And I'd like to have you underline two words just to give it some added punch. Underline the word major and the word you, so that it reads, the major key to your better future is you. Now, my first suggestion is transfer this to a card or something where you can put it up, where you can see it every day. Preferably put it up where you can see it at the beginning of the day, before you go off to put the day together. This is a good phrase just to glance at, to keep in mind as you're putting the day together. It's called the silent seminar. If you'll just let this talk to you during the day, I found it to be tremendously helpful. The major key to your better future is you. For a big share of my life now, I didn't have this one quite figured out, among a lot of things I didn't have quite figured out. Many things used to puzzle me back in those early days. I used to wonder why two people could work for the same company, one make twice as much money. Now, see, that used to puzzle me. And maybe they were the same age, graduated from the same school, live in the same community, work for the same company, with the same products and the same services. They've got the same traffic, the same problems, and one makes $1,000 a month, the other one makes $2,000 a month. Now, that was my puzzling question. Why would this long list be the same and the money twice as much? I asked, what's the difference between $1,000 a month and $2,000 a month? And I don't mean $1,000 a month, right? I could figure that out. But what makes the difference? Why would one person do twice as well, 3 times as well? Speaking economically. Now, I know there's more than one way to do well. I understand that. But in this little narrow area called compensation, what's the difference? Well, back then, with my faulty thinking, I'm trying to reason it out. I thought, well, maybe time makes some of the difference, right? Some people do better because they have more time. I used to say, Harold ought to be able to do well. He's got a lot of time. If I had all of Harold's time, I could do well. Now, that's got to be dumb, right? Number one, you can't get somebody else's time. A guy says to me one time, he says, you know, if I had some extra time, I could make some extra money. I said, then forget it. There isn't any extra time. Hey, when the clock strikes 12 midnight, that about wraps it up, right? I mean, you can look around the gongs there for a little more, but it's over. You say to the guy, what are you doing? He says, I'm looking for extra time. See, they'll come and take you away, right? There isn't any more time.
If you want to have a job in the next 5 years, these are the AI rules you need to know.
Now, if you can't get more time, which you can't, what could you get more of that would make a difference in economic results? And here's the key word. Make it a part of your notes. We're going to consider it tonight. The word is value. And I have a little phrase for your notes. Value makes the difference in results. Value makes the difference. You can't get more time, but you can create more value. Now, here's the first lesson of economics. Everybody should learn it from the time they're old enough to understand what a dollar means, how to earn one, how to get one, how to keep one, what to do with it. First lesson of economics. We primarily get paid for value. That's lesson one. Bringing value to the marketplace, that's how you get paid. You don't get paid for the time. I know it takes time to bring value to the marketplace, but you get paid for the value, not the time. Now, since that's true, here's one of the key questions of the evening. Is it possible to become twice as valuable at the marketplace and make twice as much money in the same time? Could you become 3 times as valuable? Make 3 times as much money in the same time? Is that possible? The answer is yes, if. And it's always if, right? Life is known as the big if. Harry Truman once said, life is iffy. How true. And here's the big if we're going to consider it tonight. It's possible to do much better at the marketplace if you go to work primarily on yourself. And that's the theme of our seminar tonight. Learning to work primarily on yourself. People have asked me for the last 24 years, how do you develop an above average